Controlling the controllables. What does that mean? Well, for starters, in your life, I imagine there's all sorts of anomalies and things that you've encountered in any phase of life. Business, success, failure, relationships, personal development, right? And when you step outside your wheelhouse of controllability, that's when things start to dismantle themselves. I personally believe that you can control your thoughts and your actions. So when life throws you opportunities to level up your life, to grow, to change, to evolve, it's not going to be packaged in a lollipop, gumdrop, pink bow tie. It's going to be packaged like all sorts of horrible things that you probably never wanted. Whether that's, financial stuff, relationship stuff, business stuff. And guys, this even applies to like things that are going well in your life, right? Like when things are going good, things can get really crazy and chaotic. I have plenty of friends that are multi-gazillionaires, and when we talk on the phone, they're like, bro, man, things are just really crazy right now, blah, 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 blah. They're managing all these things. It doesn't end. And that's the thing, right? It doesn't get easier. You just get more disciplined. Discipline, with your self-talk, your routines, your foundational principles and how you operate, but you get more discipline in managing the discomfort of growth. If you want anything for your life, it is not going to be easy. It is going to suck so bad. But just because things suck doesn't mean you have to be miserable when you endure them. Doesn't mean you have to completely lose your mind. One thing in special operations, we do a thing called TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care. And when we do this, we do that to, one, learn how to operate on patients. Operate may not be the correct term. We learn how to manage patient and casualty care, but also how to handle the worst case scenario and have enough skill set to be an asset and not liability. What do I mean by those two terms, asset and liability? For those that don't know, assets is something that's positive in your life. A liability is like an anchor that, oh my God, it's like a liability is like buying your car. Your car is not going to appreciate in value. It's going to depreciate, right? It's going to go down in value, especially like in your normal modern day car, right? Your Xbox, your PlayStation, those things are liabilities. Those things aren't making you better. They're not making you money. They're not growing in value over time. It's a liability. Well, you being a stress case and absolutely losing your mind when shit hits the fan, you're not an asset. And during TCCC training, you do a thing called mass casualty care. And essentially what that is, we have access to working on live tissue training, meaning there's thing that's breathing, bleeding, that's wounded, and we have an opportunity to work on it. Well, it's not like there's 12 guys and only one casualty. I mean, dude, mass 3 or more casualties. And when you're on a small team already, even if you have a 12, 14-man team and you have 3 casualties, you can't afford to put 2 guys on a casualty, right? You have to maintain security. You have to set up communications. You have to still look for the bad guys. You have all these priorities of work you must do. And so to be a force multiplier, every guy on the team understands how to save a life. And so when the medic comes on station, the medic can just do their triage and utilize the troops, right? Utilize the teammates to do 90% of the heavy lifting and then come in only when they have to come in and do the 10% that no one else can do, or no one is as effective as they are. In those times of despair and chaos and carnage and death, if the team members are running around like a chicken with their head cut off, what do you think has happened to the dynamics of the team? Well, 1, that means people aren't doing their job. 2, the amount of composure that they're missing is causing and disrupting chaos. And guys, chaos is something you want to avoid at all times. Now, the reality is you're not going to be able to avoid chaos, but what you can avoid is how you interact with chaos. And most people, when they're posed with a challenging or threatening or uncomfortable situation, where you get stressed, that anxiety, that anticipation, that panic attack feeling, they lose their mind. But if you remember to control the controllables, that you can control your thoughts and your actions, then it doesn't matter what's going on around you. It doesn't matter. You ever watch those war movies where people are like, there's like stuff blowing up in the background and people are just like, just walking along, doing their thing, either civilian or military? But if that was to happen in America right now with modern day, average day citizens, people would be losing their minds, and rightfully so, right? There probably wouldn't be a lot of command and control. There'd be absolute chaos. I mean, guys and girls, have you ever been to an airport? Have you seen the quality of people that exist in an airport? And by quality of people, I'm not talking about their financial status or their ethnicity or their gender. I'm talking about people are complacent. They do not care. Their heads are buried down in their phones. They're wearing flip-flops. If there was ever like a traumatic scenario in an airport, it would be a complete pandemonium. Because most of those people could not handle themselves in a life or death situation. And that's totally okay. That doesn't make you a crappy person if you don't know those things, but they're not prepared. I will not go in public wearing a open heel shoe, especially at an airport. If I'm going to the beach, different story. If I'm going to some place that I can control as much as I can, that's a different story. But transporting in an environment that I don't control, that I don't own, that's literally in flux with infinite amounts of people and opportunities, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to set myself up for success. I'm going to control what I can control. Heck yeah, I want to be comfortable and wear my sweatpants and some flip-flops. That would be so comfortable to fly, for 8 hours being comfortable like that. But when chaos happens, I'm literally now a liability. I'm not an asset anymore. I set myself up for failure from the get-go. So when you're finding yourself in these challenging moments, when you're finding your environment not producing the fruits that you necessarily want, or the outcomes that you want, or the scenarios that you want, how do you act? And how can you go back to focusing on controlling the controllables? It's very simple. You got to breathe, for starters. You have to breathe. Most people induce panic attacks, induce self-sabotage, induce complete chaos when they forget to breathe. They overcomplicate the scenario. They overcomplicate the situation. They start losing their comprehension and their cognitive skills because they went straight into fight or flight, and they chose flight, panic, retreat, then resolution, taking action, calm, clarity, and composure. You don't have to be in the military to have those experiences. You don't have to have a horrible, mass casualty scenario to have those situations. I mean, guys, sometimes when your bills are due, I mean, shit, I've had that where I've like, dude, I owe 20 grand by the end of the month. What am I going to do? Well, I can sit there and panic about it. I can get in my head about it. I can worry about it. Do you really think that's going to help my case? Of course it's not. Now, is having simple positive thoughts going to help my case? Yes, but not necessarily with the actionable things that I need, right? But if I had to choose to be positive in a scenario or negative in a scenario, which one would you choose? For the financial aspect, it was like, months ago, I'm like, dude, I owe $20,000 by the end of this month on my Amex, like my American Express card. I'm like, fuck, I owe 20 grand. Okay, well, I'll find a way. I'll figure it out. You know why? Because I always find a way. Because the opposite of always finding a way is not finding a way. You understand that, right? The opposite of being happy is being sad. The opposite of being successful is being poor mentally, because success is in your head, right? If you watch the previous videos, you start to see a trend here. So when you control the controllables, You focus on the things that you actually have a say on. I can't control what the government's doing. I can't control what the weather's doing. The government can. I can't control, how someone's going to act on the streets today, but I can control how I act. I can control how I think. And when you have a positive thought process, when you actually see the problem and you actually start to problem frame it, meaning you start to break it down. Okay, I owe 20 grand in 2 weeks. What do I have that I can sell? What do I know that I can sell? What do I offer that I can sell? Or what do I have that I can create? What do I have that I can leverage? What do I have that I can access to meet that objective, to meet that goal? And the thing is, if you actually applied yourself towards these things, you would be surprised what solutions you can come up with. But you're never going to come up with a solution by being negative. And if you do happen to skim by being negative, by losing your mind, losing your composure, you know what's not going to happen? Growth. You know what's not going to happen? A continuation of that. Could you imagine going to a friend that said, hey, bro, whatever you need, I got you. And you're like, yo, bro, I need 20 grand by the end of the week. I'm just in a tight spot, dude. I haven't figured it out this month, but I know I can find a way. And they're like, yeah, bro, man, I got you. And then next month comes around and it's the same thing, but you did no action. You controlled no controllables in that grace period that you had. You just relied on someone else to solve your problems, or you relied on the fact that, well, it's not a problem until it's a problem. How well is that going to work out for you? It's not, because people aren't going to continue to invest into you. And for those of you that don't believe that people will invest in you, that's ludicrous. They absolutely will. But the question is, will you invest into you? Will you create enough value in your life, controlling your controllables, where people actually see the value? Because here's the thing about growth, personal development, being a high value person, is 9 times out of 10, most people see the value in you before you see the value in yourself. And I know that was the case with me. And yes, I know I have value to add, but the true belief in myself, the true value that I brought to the table, I didn't quite see it just yet. But people around me in my network, they saw it, and they've been betting on me and investing into me over the years with their time, finances, opportunities, networks, mentorship, all these types of things. But if I was to not do anything with those opportunities, do you think they would continue to do so? The answer is no, they wouldn't. So if you want people to invest into you, if you want people to believe in you, well, first starters, you got to believe in yourself. And if you really want to dominate the battle space inside your mind, inside the world that you live in, combat or not, focus on controlling the controllables. And like I said, in my world, my thoughts and my actions, I can control. Outside of that, I have no control over, and that's okay. Stay within my zone of genius, stay within my lane of realization and facts, and things will work out. But guys, most importantly, the thoughts will make you or break you. And your actions, guys, action is everything. I mentor and coach multimillionaires, high executives, high-level CEOs, and they have all the money in the world. You know what they lack, though? Thoughts. Believe it or not, they lack thoughts. They're so geniuses inside their enterprises, they lack controlling the controllables. They just know how to produce. They don't know how to contain and control. They don't know how to do that. Not because they're stupid, not because they're dumb. It's because they've never been put in those situations. And when they found themselves in those situations, they never knew how to grow and expand to the new levels. Guys, like some of you, I have been in some pretty extreme, crippling, debilitating, stressful environments in life. I would venture to say I've been in minus the violence of it. I've been in a lot of debilitating, crippling scenarios in life as a civilian. And it doesn't get easier. You just get more disciplined on how you navigate and operate in those environments. So don't sell yourself short. You got to keep on going, but stay within the controllabilities. Control what you can control. Appreciate you guys.